Welcome to the Silicon Slope Show. I've got Johnathan Aubrey, who is the founder and CEO of Winning Despite Obstacles and author of Am I Different? Johnathan, how are you today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me on board.
You bet. It's been great getting to know you. We've been chatting here for a couple of minutes. We've got a card trick slotted to happen at some point during this podcast. And you've brought your book,
Yes.
Am I Different? Written by you and illustrated by Ben Roberry.
Yes.
It's not an easy feat to write a book.
You're telling me. Yeah, no, I honestly, the first time I wrote about this story was my senior year of college back in '04.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to write a book, but start to finish, when I made an actual legitimate push, was 2.5 years.
Yeah. Because you got to have a little bit of confidence. You got to have a good story. And then you've got all the normal things of writer's block. And I wonder if people are going to like this, and those internal demons.
Right. Well, and some of those I didn't have to worry too much about. But honestly, I had no idea who was going to illustrate the book when I knuckled down.
Yeah.
I'm all, well, I got to get this story done. We'll fire. And it was amazing. I've been a real estate agent for years, worked at Century 21 Everest just down the street. My broker's wife published a beautiful book about bereavement for when kids lose a parent. And it was a gorgeous book. I asked her how she found her illustrator. And next thing I know, we're off to the races.
Perfect. It's nice when things kind of fall in your lap like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and shortly after that, I lined up my first of my 2 editors, and it was go time. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the book, but let's set the table with why did you write it? Why is it personal to you? Kind of, with July being National Disability Pride Month, we're talking in July. This will probably be released in August, but you've got cerebral palsy, correct?
Correct, yeah. So and for those who don't know what cerebral palsy is, the doctors will explain it. Cerebral it deals with the cerebral part of the brain, which is what controls your body. And palsy means to stop or to slow.
Okay.
So that's probably the dumbed down version of the doctor's definition.
Yeah.
The way I like to explain it is if you had the latest, greatest smartphones and caller and receiver both standing in an optimum location, that's how the brain is naturally supposed to work.
Okay.
Everything's crystal clear and messages are sent. A brain with cerebral palsy is kind of like walkie-talkies.
Okay.
You can hear the message, but it's quite fuzzy.
Gotcha.
And so, 10-4?
Yeah, 10-4.
So that's kind of how my body or my brain communicates with my body. I'm very blessed in that it's quite mild. There's a kid just down the street from where I live, 19 years old. He's got cerebral palsy, and it's so bad for him that he can't talk, and he's in wheelchair bound.
Okay.
And so there are lots of varying degrees as to what it could mean and what lifestyle might be like.
Yeah. And you were born with that condition, correct?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So anyone that receives cerebral palsy is most likely going to receive it right before, during, or shortly after birth. It's caused because the brain either wasn't fully developed or was damaged in the birthing process.
Okay. And this is an obstacle that you've had to deal with your entire life, and congrats to how you've overcome that. I believe that is kind of the premise for this book, Am I Different, of overcoming obstacles and dealing with hard things in life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So um, as a kid, and anyone that can remember, yeah, when you received your first bicycle, what was that like?
Yeah, it was fun, and a little bit scared that you might crash, but ultimately just excitement and freedom, right? Freedom.
Oh yeah, and I was super excited. Mine came with training wheels, which was good. I definitely need them. Um, I was out riding around, and my sister challenged me to a race.
Okay.
And in that race, we ended up crashing, and I had a whopping headache, ran home to my mom. The fallout of that was that um, my parents believed I'd be able to enjoy life better and have a lot less risk of further accidents without a bicycle.
Oh,
And so for the longest time, I don't know if it was ever said, but my mindset or my belief was people with cerebral palsy cannot and do not ride bikes.
okay. And that's since proved incorrect in your life.
So, well, yeah. So the accident happened at the age of 7, and by the age of 13, I was so stinking bored and lonely, and I mean, all my friends would ride their bikes to a public pool, and I didn't want to walk there because by the time I got there, maybe they'd want to go home.
Right.
And yeah, it just so it got to where the pain of not being able to ride a bike exceeded the pain of doing something hard,
Yeah.
learning how to ride a bike. And so I got sick of it, and I spent a full day, probably about 5 hours, in my front yard borrowing one of my brother's bikes, trying trying to learn.
Yeah. And ultimately you did.
Yeah.
And then you were back in business.
Oh yeah. And people are gonna. I've had people ask me, "Well, did you ever ride the bike to the public pool?" The answer is no. I don't. I hardly know how to swim, or didn't back then. But I now had freedom, and I had other friends. I rode my bike, and I'd go play basketball with them.
Yeah. And living the best childhood you can with the ability to kind of do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
With that bike.
Oh, absolutely. So the important thing isn't did I ever ride the bike to the pool. I had a dream and a vision, and I thought I'd ride the bike to the pool. That dream and vision created enough motivation to get me put in the effort. And once I learned to ride the bike, I then had increased freedom. So who cares if I ever rode it to the pool? The important thing was there was a dream and a vision, and it gained me freedom.
Yeah. Which can be applied to a lot of things in life, right?
Oh, yeah. So people get hung up. Well, what if the goal or the dream, or what if it's not right? Who cares? Goals and dreams change all the time. Just get emotional enough that you can gain the freedom you're ultimately looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're going to do a card trick at some point, but there's that
Yeah.
old adage of, the deck is stacked against you.
Yes. Yes.
And there's 8 billion of us on this planet, and the deck is stacked against others more than some. And I would say, have a deck stacked against you, but you might disagree, right? Like based on your philosophy of overcoming.
It depends when you ask me.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is I something uber amazing happened at the age of 32, and it was devastating at the same time. And what I mean by that is I'm the second of 6 kids. Only 3 of us graduated high school, and only one of us graduated college. And we grew up in rentals most of our lives. Um, and it wasn't uncommon for a charity organization once in a while to pay our rent. So my wife has confirmed I grew up poor.
Yeah.
So at the age of 32, when I bought my first townhome, uber amazing.
Yeah.
I also knew at a very young age, 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there, that there was nothing I'd want more than to be a husband and a father.
Okay.
And so when I moved into that townhome all by myself, it was devastating. And I developed a mindset once again that was not empowering. Basically, I thought the deck was stacked against me. I thought the whole reason I wasn't married is because I was cursed by my God or my maker with cerebral palsy, and that's why I wasn't married. Deck was stacked.
Yeah.
And I developed habits that I wish I'd never developed, probably made me far less attractive. I just had a long, hard 3 years. I went to Tony Robbins a couple times. It started helping change my mindset. Ultimately, what did it for me was I was reading scriptures, and I came across a spiritual text. If you don't mind, I'd like to share exactly what it said.
Yeah.
But it reshaped my mindset and became the foundation of winning despite obstacles. And so that spiritual text, I almost have it here. Ether 12:27, for those who are familiar with that, says, "And if men come unto me, I will show them their weakness. I give unto men weakness, that they may be humble. My grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then will I make weak things become strong unto them." And most people love this passage because of the last line. Then will I make weak things become strong unto them.
Mm-hmm.
The line that cured me is the second line. It says, I give unto men weakness. And that I is God, is our Father in heaven, is deity. And give also is gift. So our weakness is a divine gift. And what weakness is different for each and every one of us. Mine just happens to encompass cerebral palsy.
Yeah. So you've kind of going through some doldrums, scriptures, and Tony Robbins kind of jolting you awake, and
So shortly after reading that verse, I knew I wanted to speak on winning despite obstacles, and I started speaking to companies, churches, organizations on winning despite obstacles.
yeah,
And this story is the story, it was the foundation of what I would use to illustrate what creates inspiration. And I'll go over that in just a second. But when I was done with these speaking engagements, it happened often enough that my brain finally clicked. But what would happen often enough is that mothers and fathers would approach me afterwards and say, John, I really wish my kids could have heard your story.
mm.
So in college, I wanted to write a business novel, but it clicked, oh my goodness, I got to write a little kid's book.
Yeah. It's a good place to start because it's a good place to give that impression and kind of set the foundation.
Oh yeah. Well, and if we learn at a young age how to repeatedly ask, how can I stack the deck in my favor? How much different is the mindset going to be carrying forward and going on? How much of a different of a life is that going to be for each and every one? And so, yeah, I love kids. I love working with kids. I mentioned that I want nothing more than to be a husband and a father. So 1 year after getting my brain fixed with that scripture, I asked out my now wife for the first time. And I knew things had already changed because from 17 until the age of 35, I went on dates. That wasn't a problem. I only got asked out twice.
Okay.
From 35 to 36, when I asked my wife out for the first time, I knew something changed because I got asked out 4 times in that 1 year.
That's fun because people can also perceive like when somebody's got that change in attitude and they've got that brighter disposition, and it does resonate with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just brought up, and I realized I should go over those 5 points that I learned. So the 5 points that I learned from sharing this story, afterwards I'd always ask the audience, how many of you find this story to be inspirational? And almost every hand would go up every time. And so then I would then ask them, who do you know in your life, mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, son, daughter, who do you know that's absolutely inspirational to you? How many of you have someone? Raise your hand. And only a handful of people would raise their hand. Some people probably just didn't want to get picked on,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is all cool. So then I'd ask who would share. And when they share, I found these 5 things. Number one, they had an intimate relationship with the person that inspired them. Number two, that individual, whoever it was, had an obstacle, challenge, trial, something that was out of the ordinary that they had to overcome. Number three, they either overcame that or they were dealing with life and that challenge in a very positive manner. Number four, more often than not, they were happy. They had a positive outlook and demeanor in going about life.
Mm-hmm.
And number five, they love to help other people. And 4 and 5 weren't always present in the conversation, but they came up a lot. And so when I look at it, those are the ingredients. And so when people said we'll say the deck is stacked, I'm going to say absolutely it's stacked.
Mm-hmm.
It's stacked to find out if we're going to be a complainer or an inspiration.
Yeah. I like that. I like how you've boiled it down to that phrase plus those 5 things. Should we do the card trick right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So select 8 cards
Okay.
and give those 8 cards back to me.
All right. I'm selecting 8 cards for those that are just listening here. All right. Giving them back.
Okay. So I'm going to look real quick, make sure they're not the same. They shouldn't be because this is a normal deck. Okay. Are those all different?
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm fanning them out and putting them face down.
Yep.
I'm going to have you select 1 card.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and show it to the camera. Turn my head away while you show the card to the camera.
Okay.
Okay. Put it back where you got it.
I think that's where it goes.
Okay. Perfect. I'm just going to shuffle this tiny bit. Okay, I'm going to show you a card on the bottom of the deck, and you're going to find your card. So just let me know if this is your card.
No.
Okay, so the card on the bottom, I'm going to put down on the table, and the one second to bottom, I'm going to put on top of the deck. Is this your card?
No.
Okay, so card on the bottom is going on the table, and the second to bottom on the top of the deck. Is this your card?
No.
Okay, so again, this one down, this one on top. Is this your card?
No.
Okay, this one down, this one on top. We've checked half the deck. So we know your card's in this half the deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to double check this pile, and we're going to put these 4 cards in safekeeping.
Okay.
I'm going to put them in my back pocket.
Okay.
So they're secure. Okay, so we're just going to double check, make sure we haven't missed your card in these 4 cards. Is that your card? Okay, so we put this card down, this card on top. Is that your card?
No.
Okay. This card down, this card on top. Either of those it?
No.
Okay, we've double checked. What I want you to do is, can you make a fist? Okay, I'm gonna slide these cards in between your knuckles.
Okay.
I want you to grip tight on them, not too tight though.
Okay.
Okay. Grip on that. I'm gonna smack these cards, and when I do, your card's gonna jump out of my pocket and into your hand.
Okay.
Let me move the mic a little bit.
Okay.
What's in your hand? Is that your card?
It is 10 of spades.
Awesome.
All right.
So the reason why I share that is I manipulated the deck, didn't I?
You did something.
I narrowed it down to 8 cards. And then with the 8 cards, I did things. So basically what I'm getting to is when we figure out that there is always a way to restack the deck.
Yep.
Magic every single time.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. And I love again, the application all throughout life, whether it's personal, business, community, whole nations, everything.
Well, and once I restacked, I'm winning despite obstacles, and that's what I'm sharing about. Oh my goodness, the relationships, the people I run into, the ways it affects them, so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, personal application. My wife and I, we've been married in October, will be 9 years.
Congrats.
And we can't have kids. And I want to be a husband and a father.
Mm-hmm.
We had to restack the deck. We're licensed foster care providers.
Yeah.
We don't have kids in our house as much or as often as a normal family. And sure, there are hard times. What parents don't have hard times?
Yep.
And yet there's magic in it too.
Yeah. Well, I bet all of your foster kids are lucky to have you and your wife as examples and parents. So I like that example of restacking the deck. You're never really out of it if you want to keep that positive attitude.
Absolutely. Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Have any of them said, "I wish you weren't my dad"?
Only one, unfortunately.
Right.
Yep.
Well, so they don't tell me that. They just say, "You're not my dad." And I look at them and I say, "Dang straight, but you know I treat you like you're my son."
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Very good
So
for you.
Yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed our time here today, Johnathan, and let's give people some info on how they can support the book and you and the company ultimately, and where they can find this and buy it.
Oh, yeah. So winning despite overcomeobstacles.com
Okay.
is my website. I did have a promo code that's rolling. I guess I'll have to extend it since this isn't going on there till August. Right now, if you put the promo code PRIDE in when you're checking out, you'll get 20% off
Okay.
the book. There is also ways on the website to book me to come speak to your company, organization, school, whatever it is.
I love it. Yeah, and count me as a fan, and I would encourage everybody that needs a public speaker to strongly consider Johnathan. And the message is simple yet profound, and easy to digest, and ultimately like a really good, well thought out message. So very cool. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for taking the time to join us today. Congrats on overcoming all of your obstacles and on your success. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much.
You bet.